we're talking about Paul Spencer, and you said.
Yeah, I'm trying to be. If you only knew, but you know.
Is it running yet? Huh?
What? No, you guys just get comfortable.
Keep going.
No, because I'm going to actually talk about something in particular. So let's have a start.
Okay, let's start. Start.
Okay. Hey, Victor, how you doing?
Hey man, good to see you.
Good to see you. Yeah. Welcome back to the living room.
Yeah.
So this is Victor Campbell, and Victor and I have been knowing each other for a long time.
How long?
A long time. We'll leave it at a long time for right now. But we can talk a little bit about, I guess, our past. But I think I'd like to kind of stay close to the present, right? Current, right? I think you once said maybe a year or two back, or maybe it was even a little bit more than that now. But this is the second part of your career, the second part of
the second half.
The second half, yeah. So you spend 40 years or so in the music business, and then you find out that this really is what you actually love to do, and so you rededicate yourself to it and you do it again. And I think we started having a real relationship on a regular basis. You had a couple of surgeries.
Yeah. 5 years ago.
Yeah.
2 shoulder surgeries back to back.
Right. So you could hardly play, basically.
A year and a half off.
Yeah. And I think we kind of came together on the idea that, hey, if you can make it over, just play with brushes for a while, and then that turned into a get-together that was constant, like once a week usually, and to this day it's still
going.
Yeah,
but you had something in mind. Said, I got an idea. You were in the writing mode.
Right.
So they kind of set the whole thing up. I'll get you back in shape.
Right. I'll trade you.
I'll trade you.
I'll trade you. You give me all kind of great drumming, and over my new tunes. And I'll help. I'll be like your therapist. Or trainer. You get back in the ring, And then it became kind of a habit, of getting together. And then pretty soon we actually had something. And we've had a little bit of trouble securing a regular bass player, but in recent past we got a stable now. We got a stable of bass players, so that can come in and cover this stuff. But and so that's kind of our recent background, like I was saying. But I think there's a reason beyond the recent background. It goes beyond just what we're doing. It goes on to how we do it.
Interesting.
And how.
Concept too.
I mean, it's not really something where we're just getting together necessarily and jamming. We do some of that, but we actually workshop. It's more like a workshop. And then we think of the examples of Mingus and Art Blakey and all of those guys that kind of had sure, of course, they're operating with many great players, but we're basically doing the same thing, sort of check and balance too. We have so much in common to begin with, but then we also have differences in our backgrounds that sort of I think help us both to hear in a bigger, broader, better way, better overall way.
Bring all the ideas in different colors, if you will, together.
Yeah, no pun intended. No. Yeah, but that is a big part of it. The color of this music is, I think we would agree, black. I mean, no apologies. It is what it is. I think Sam Belton. We had a talk a while back, and I asked him if he would agree that it's jazz is the outcome. It's the creative outcome of the black man's experience in America. It's the whole history of it, from early on until the present. And that's why it has a deep root system, or a trunk of a tree. That we go back through that same corridor of history, and because I'm, of of course, not part and parcel of the culture born into. I'm educated into the culture.
Yeah, but you also been around.
Yes, absolutely. I've been around the culture.
You've been around it. Yeah, you
Yeah.
got your brother card.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, that's a huge thing for me, honestly. That's like one of the biggest tributes of my life.
Yeah.
So anyhow, so I'd like to kind of talk a little bit about, those are all the things that we have in common. But I think the unique thing that helps us to have a little bit of what give and take is that you're primarily coming from obviously from a rhythmic standpoint because you're a drummer,
Yeah.
but also a specific kind of drumming that you might think of Kothi and the Kothi dance company, which Victor had been playing with for years, an African dance company, a drum ensemble and dance company, and which is basically you're doing West African.
Yeah, West African and Caribbean.
Okay, kind of a conglomeration of those two things. But and then of course I'm coming to it from not there, but from trying to educate myself into really starting with bebop as an entry point, and then realizing that there was this whole other part to it. In other words, the culture and the history and the traditions that all go into ultimately trying to be a jazz musician. So I kind of bring this thing, like you had mentioned, of course I write a lot, and I bring that that idea of form and chord changes and harmony and all that. We're trying to melt that into your sense of, again, that African polyrhythmic kind of sensation that you're doing, like all over the place. You know,
I call it front channel, but then letting that back channel
seep in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've actually even had discussions about the back channel. He'll go like, well, man, I say, well, where are you? Where are you going? What just happened there? I'm lost. You know, he'll say, oh man, you know, you gotta let me take that back channel. And I said, well, I got back channels too. You know, like, and then we go back and forth about that for a little while, and then we get back to business. You know, I think the thing that I always feel that's getting stronger and stronger with us is the idea of freedom within the form.
Yeah. Control chaos.
Control chaos.
Yeah.
You know, like where it's whenever you want to hear it, it's there.
Yeah.
The song is there.
Yeah.
So no matter how polyrhythmic you get, we're trying to always know where one is. You know?
Yeah.
And we're not always successful, but mostly we're getting better and better at it.
Yeah.
So Stravinsky, in this book that I got this Igor Stravinsky book that says, with the more control you have over something, the more freedom you'll eventually achieve. Because you're so secure in what's quote unquote the given, that variations can start to slide and slip and be polyrhythmic.
Understanding the form.
Right.
You know, I guess as a drummer, I'm supposed to know the map, the form. You know?
That's a great word, actually, map.
And then being able to, as I get more comfortable, because I do have a back channel that right away clicks in. That's what I'm noticing more now than before. It's like it just clicks in right away, and I hear stuff that nobody else really would hear. You know, that's why. And then by the time, like, wait, this, you know, ease your way in.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
And that's still that part of growth is being a drummer. But I think a part of that, a lot of that is the experience of hearing all these West African, all these different rhythms.
Right. Kind of piled on top of each other. With a center though. Like the djembe or something being in the center.
But then with your compositions, it's like, oh, wow, what can I do? Oh, I hear this. That back channel, you know. And there's been times in the dungeon, if you will.
Right. Yeah. The dungeon he's referring to is the basement where we always end up, you know.
Yeah, we gotta see the basement.
Yeah, we'll see that later, maybe.
But being able to hear a new piece and say, okay, here, and be able to, let me try this here, or
Right.
play the form one way, and then in the solo section, being able to just build,
Yeah.
and actually take it on a rhythmic journey.
Variation, right?
Variation,
I mean,
without getting in the way of the soloist, but
Right.
compliment, but
yeah,
flip the time a little bit.
yeah, sure.
Or know where one is, but
Yeah.
they're kind of like just
Yeah,
slide it over.
yeah.
And I think part of that, one of the baddest drummers. Well, there's a lot of great drummers, but Elvin Jones, he was a master of disguising, but knowing where one is. But when you try to really figure it out, sometimes it's like, man, where is he coming from?
Yeah.
And you got to really take years of really listening to him.
Right.
And I think that is between him and Roy Haynes, But Roy is right on, but Elvin,
Yeah.
he just got that Elvin
Sort of
is
like a
playing.
hesitation right
Yeah,
before he
yeah.
hits that you think he's not going to make it, and then he makes it.
Yeah.
And of course, Elvin, that's my education into how you play, because before I met you and before we started playing together regular, I could really say that having never obviously ever played with Elvin Jones, but he's my favorite drummer.
Yeah.
And I think I think it's the African drumming thing. To me, you sound similar to Elvin. There's a lot of, I know you love Roy Haynes, and so you've actually kind of like I love Wes, and I've absconded with all kinds of his stuff, and you've absconded with all kinds of Roy's stuff, but and also Elvin's stuff. But Elvin's thing is like, to me, it's just purely African.
Yeah.
It sounds more African, just naturally, just how he does it than anybody else. I think. And there's a whole lot of people that can play like him, that they'll do their tribute to Elvin, but I think you come closest to just naturally playing that way almost all the time, even when you're not playing jazz music.
Yeah.
You still have, like, kind of, what would Elvin do in a funk, or what would Elvin do in a waltz, or whatever. That there's always some slightly unexpected thing that happens. And sometimes it's just the other thing, not to go off completely on this part of our talk, but there's Monkey Boy. You can't see him? Here's Monkey Boy. He came by. Hello, my name is Monkey Boy. I don't have one ear. Okay, bye. Go back. What was I saying? Elvin. Monkey Boy interrupted my train of thought. That's another thing, that when your train of thought gets interrupted, you just have to keep going. So, but anyhow, Elvin was sort of my entry level into just hearing the jazz music as a truly specific kind of music. Then, when I could hear him clearly, I think when I could understand him from a listening standpoint, then I understood Miles better. The guys that were a little easier to hear, I could understand them even better, but I felt something of that connection that makes that black American experience in the music authentic.
And they weren't afraid to go for it.
Yes.
It's like, okay,
Yeah.
this is it.
They're not being
bashful.
bashful. They're not being bashful. They're stating something artistically, and there's where we get to that word, art.
Art,
Yeah, to state something as art, you can't be worried about, is the audience going to be able to dance to it, or is the audience going to be offended because it's a little too loud, or we don't want to go in there and create chaos from a loudness standpoint, but there has to be a certain ability to play. And I think another thing I know I have learned, and I'm sure you have too, is we can now play, compared to 3, 5, 4 years ago, we can play with more intensity at a quieter volume, and still have that. Love to open up.
Yeah, we can really build,
Right.
And it's interesting. I've been very fortunate and blessed to be able to perform with you a lot and work with you, but and other guitar players, and it's been strange in a good way, but learning how to play with guitar players.
Yeah.
Compared to
It's
horn
different,
players.
and piano players even.
Yeah.
It's a we don't think because of the rock guitar thing. You think of it as a powerful instrument, but it's really a more subtle instrument than in the jazz world than a piano is even, and certainly more subtle than the tenor saxophone. The king of all.
With the tenor you can open up.
Yeah.
But with the guitars and the piano, play more melodically.
Yes.
Yeah, I've noticed, and I mentioned this earlier, but hey man, that he's playing melodically. I like how,
Right. I got to tell you, you have been getting that description a lot lately, and especially when I'm playing bass. People say that all the time about this melodic thing. So I think that's actually something I don't think we've ever actually talked about. It's just been within the last year or something where that comment keeps coming up. I hear people saying it about you. I hear it.
But it's about we always discuss. Get the form. Learn
Yes.
Get the map together, and then get that so locked in.
Right.
Where then once you know, then we can.
You bet.
You can
and follow each other, and not to be a copycat that kind of thing. When one guy plays something and the other guy plays the same rhythm or whatever. But to extend each other's ideas.
Conversation.
A conversation. God dang conversation. Yeah. So anyhow, we're having a conversation. That's what we're doing here in my living room, and I think what we'll do is probably do some video on some playing, and we'll take her downstairs to the dungeon. And then we'll actually have a little example. Now we won't have a bass player with us. We'll just play together. But that's what we do a lot of the time.
Oh yeah, we should explain.
Oh,
share how we.
That's a good idea. Yeah. Because I play both guitar and bass. So sometimes when I'm showing Victor a new tune, when he's just taking on the new tune, I'll usually play guitar first so you can hear the melody within the form.
Right.
But then eventually I'll end up with just say, well, Victor, you try to remember that melody, and I'm going to just play the bass. We'll still be in the same form.
Right.
And we even took that into the studio.
That's
a whole nother subject.
That's a whole nother subject. But I must say, for me, it's a cool concept because it really makes you study and hear and like, okay, I gotta get this, gotta get that, gotta know the form.
Yeah.
Because when we go in the studio and we flip it, we both and we got some good stories being in the studio. But it works.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah.
And then you come back and then you just sit down and
play the guitar track to this rhythm track that has been created without a click track. Number one, I think that even amazes me that we're pretty much where we started. And we don't have the melody to guide us at all, or big chords. It's just really the walking bass line or the bass part and the drums. So even during solo choruses, where there is no solo, it's so easy to come and play the guitar over the top of that because I'm so used to playing with you, and of course I guess I'm used to myself. It sounds, nobody would guess in a million years that number one, you could even do this, I think, and number two, that it would sound cohesive and seamless, like it's really three guys playing together.
Yeah, and also just keep working, because it keeps changing. It keeps changing, but preparing, keep rehearsing and talking about it. The conversation, and it works. It works.
That's the bottom line. It seems to work.
It works.
And we're pretty harsh judges, I think, even for ourselves. We keep it pretty honest.
Honest, and we have some discussion. Don't
Yeah.
No, man, yeah, no, man, yeah, okay, yeah, okay.
Alright, yeah.
Alright.
I'm going home. Okay, so we're gonna play something here in a little bit. Talk to you later. Thank you, Victor, for coming on
Oh, thank you.
to the What Makes an Artist blog.